I'd like to call this meeting of the Riverside City Council for work session for July 5th, 2012 to order. Call the roll, please.
Ms. Campbell? Here. Mr. Kerr?
Present.
Mr. Bowman?
Here.
Mr. Fulenkamp?
Here.
Mr. Shaw?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mayor Cloudy?
Here. The next thing is the additions or corrections to the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Besides that little moving around.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I would like to do the discussion of issue 2 and trash before the presentation. Is that okay?
So moved.
It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Denny,
Second.
second by Mr. Schock. All in favor? Or is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion's carried. So that gets us into the work session items. First one is discussion of issue 2 projects. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now is the time on the calendar for the city to begin considering what project, if any, would like to submit for issue 2 funding to the Ohio Public Works Commission. Repeatedly, we had submitted the Hirschman Road project, which was funded last year. The approval was given last year. Funding was recently authorized. Paperwork should be complete this month. So Hirschman Road is no longer the priority, I guess, of discussion, and so that opens the door for other projects for council to consider. Based on conversations that have occurred previously on this issue, Burkhart Road is a project that council had previously discussed, as well as phases of Valley Street. Additionally, there have been some complaints from citizens and some notices from staff regarding the condition of Spalding Road, which would be a smaller project. And then there is the Fair Park Fairfax Bridge that was, as you know, closed last year as a result of structural conditions as identified by the county engineer. We do have a grant application pending at ODOT for the Municipal Bridge Fund, but we have not heard back from them yet as to whether or not that project will or will not be funded. But those were 2 other projects that, or 2 other potential projects that I wanted to at least make council aware of. Also, there is any other project that would qualify that you might think of, but to date, nothing else has been discussed other than, again, the Burkhart and the Valley project, as well as potential Spalding or Fair Park Bridge. So I did provide a memorandum to council regarding that group of projects with some thoughts that I thought were appropriate for you to consider. But as always, staff, I'll take whatever direction you're willing to provide on this particular discussion item.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mrs. Campbell?
Which one is the worst in your opinion?
I think the universal opinion is Burkhart Road is the one that is in the worst condition and is in need of help post haste based on that condition. I would say probably Spalding is second to that, but you know, there are a lot of things that go into considering what we as a city may want or may not want to fund. But that's my opinion, at least as far as the conditions of the road. Mr. Miller, I don't know if you care to offer a differing opinion. But
You were correct.
Any other thoughts?
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Smith.
Thank you. Fair Park Bridge. When we sent out the questionnaire to the residents over there, it came back kind of 50-50, isn't it, on being a pedestrian bridge and being repaired and reopened?
I believe that there were a few more responses in favor of reopening the bridge to vehicular traffic compared to leaving it out or replacing it with a pedestrian bridge. But when you weigh in the opinion of the school, I would say that probably puts you about the 50-50 mark. If you wanted to make that school vote count, I guess, in the grand scheme on that particular project.
Okay. So it's...
Yeah, the people on Byesville are people who I've been hearing mostly from. Due to that bridge being shut down, everybody goes to the next street, which is Byesville, and cuts over.
Yeah.
And so I've heard a lot of complaints from the folks on Byesville. And of course, there are others in the plat that have made a lot of noise, but whether we want to consider that or not, but they have. And you know, but then again, should we, when but again, we got that project in line already, so we wouldn't really want to put that on issue 2 project if we were already waiting on the other grant from the state.
You could tier the application, you could have priority 1, priority 2. We could, I'm hoping that we will have a definitive response from the Municipal Bridge Fund folks by month's end. So that would also allow us to have a more clear understanding of whether or not the bridge will need other funding or whether or not it will all be cured through the Municipal Bridge Fund.
And this phone grant,
Costs, I don't remember the bids from Burkhart from when they were presented to us. And I don't know if the scope will remain the same for fixing the road. Give me a wag with those figures. What are they included?
Yeah, the Burkhart resurfacing, which was a mill and fill, so grinding off the top 3 inches, replacing those 3 inches with new asphalt. There was some sidewalk infill, and there was also some curb work included in there, and that number was right around 1.2 million, if I remember correctly.
Okay, that's what I remember.
And that was no structural, the road's not to the point where you've got to dig down and do heavy duty maintenance.
Well, there are, yeah,
Or do we know necessarily?
Burkhart is a tricky beast. The road itself, it needs to be reconstructed completely. Keep in mind that the cost to reconstruct that road completely, to give it a 20 to 25-year service life, is very, very significant in its total. We're talking, I think 2.8 was the number just to reconfigure the Woodman-Burkhart intersection through Granville. Okay, so a very small portion of the project to take that crown out, reposition the utilities, set back up the appropriate drainage. So that project reconstructing for the 20 years, the 25 year useful life is going to be very expensive. The mill and fill will get you, I would say, probably 10 to 13 years, Mr. Mayor. Is that a fair assumption? Additional useful life on Burkhart Road without having to do significant alterations of slope and grade.
But
So that would go from the city of Dayton over to the city of Beaver Creek?
Yes.
The whole
Yes.
section there?
Yes.
Okay.
But doesn't the county want to replace the water lines? Possibly gas lines as well, with Vector?
The original project, which was funded, I believe, was 07. I think tail end of 07 was when we got notice of that project. And then the county called and said that they were going to extend water main at Burkhart in a bulk sales agreement with Greene County. We actually had a meeting with county environmental last week, and they've indicated that they are no longer talking about bulk water sales to Greene County, at least utilizing a main of Burkhart Road. So that is no longer a concern in the event that this project were to go through and this project were to be funded, if that was the one selected by council, the county coming in behind it and then doing damage to a new road surface.
Okay, so that's off the table then?
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Fong.
So the current plan just does a mill and fill?
That's
It
correct.
doesn't do anything with curbs, sidewalks, or anything else, other than taking the crown off of the Burkhart?
How much of the crown will it take off? I guess that, I mean,
won't-
it's a really
yeah,
large
it
crown
won't-
now.
It won't really take off much of the crown. So you will still see that kind of wicked peak there from Woodman, just past Granville. You'll still see that there, even on the mill and fill. Like I said, there are some curb work extensions, mostly in the area of the Woodman intersection, where on the north side of Burkhart you can see tires are getting off the edge of the road, undercutting in that particular area. So there is some curb work in that area in the last proposal, and then there were some sidewalk fill-ins on the north side of Burkhart as you got closer to spinning to tie in. I believe there's a rough asphalt sidewalk over there, and then there's some more conventional sidewalk there. So there was some patchwork in there as well. But I believe out of that total 1.2 million, all that concrete work
So, so you're saying the reheat process would save 20 to 30% off of that 1.3 mil number?
That is correct. That is correct, based on the information that we received from the vendor and from Engineer Dan Holling when they looked at that earlier this year. The regional contractor that performs the reheat service was actually sold to a larger Midwestern vendor out of Chicago. And that vendor is actually in the area to evaluate projects that were previously committed by the prior reheat technology owner. So they will be making a stop here next week to verify that Burkhardt is indeed a candidate for reheat.
Thanks.
So would you be putting it in as a reheat project, or would you be putting it in as a mill and fill regular, so we get more money out of the 40% that we get it? Or how are you gonna play that?
I think the most appropriate way to address that issue would be how we're going to handle it for the Harshman resurfacing, which is we would make that an alternative bid on the technology. So you would ask for, you know, the traditional mill and fill format, did that, and then reheat technology, and then did that as well.
Any other? Deputy Mayor Denny?
Okay, so everything I've got, Burkhardt was actually on our list for this year, but cost-wise, we kind of pulled it off in favor of making sure Harshman got done. So I think that Burkhardt is going to impact the community the most, and I think that's the direction we should go at the moment. And I know we're only going to get 10 to 15 years, but if we were planning on doing this in '07, if we keep waiting for the county to make up their mind, we're not going to have a road there anymore, and we're going to have to go to the $2.8 million fix and won't have any choice if we don't do this quickly. So I think we should go with getting Burkhardt done and move forward, and if possibly put Spalding in as a secondary project if we can.
Yes, Mr. Kirk.
I agree with the Burkhardt Road priority, but one of the things I'd like for us to consider to add to our list of projects would be looking at new box culverts or whatever the appropriate structure would be for where Lily Creek goes over Travis Drive and probably over Spinning Road. Those particular streets where channel narrows currently as it goes underneath those bridges. And I don't know whether to provide appropriate relief if we put in a wider box culvert or whatever the appropriate structure might be to eliminate those bottlenecks that occurred there. Maybe that will provide some relief to the citizens along the creek. But I'd like to see us take a look at putting that on our project list somewhere. I'd like to see us go with the Burkhardt Road. I think it's just a long time since that's been addressed.
Yeah, it started a lot earlier in 2007.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Mr. Mr.
Mr. City Manager, can you explain the reheat process?
Sure. In a conventional mill and fill, what happens is one set of equipment comes through and it grinds off the top 2, 3, 4 inches of asphalt, and they put it in a truck, they haul it away, and then they bring in fresh asphalt and lay that down. In the reheat process, it's a self-contained machine, if you will, and what it does is it grinds off the top surface, heats it up, adds emulsion to the mix, so asphalt glue, if you will, heats that up again, and you can also inject into it whatever other chemicals that we may want. Gilsonite, which is a hardening chemical, might be an application that we would think about putting in there. Heats all of that back up and applies it right back in place. So the reason that vendors are able to offer a reheat process at a lower price is because they're mobilizing less equipment, which Mr. Miller and his folks have been researching, which Mr. Hoying, the engineer, has also been reviewing and investigating, and it appears that the reheat process is just as durable as the conventional process.
Okay, so we should be able to get 10, 15 years out of that,
Yes,
just
sir.
for saying? Okay, well, it looks like if we was to go with the reheat process, Burkhart Road could be repaired under $1 million, just under $1 million, about $960.
Correct.
So if we get 40% of that, that
Okay.
brings it down to about 600,000.
Yeah, well, there we go.
That's the good thing for the community for that one. Yeah, Mr. Fong.
So, I mean, in the city manager's report, there was some gifting of property at Fair Park Bridge.
Yes, sir.
What impact, if any, would that have on the project?
On the Fair Park Bridge? Depending upon the scope that council wanted the city to undertake with regards to the bridge, it may have very minimal, it may have very significant. What it allows us to do in the event that there is a need to reconstruct the bridge configuration outright, it allows us to actually kind of skew the bridge and take away that real tight hairpin turn. So we would actually be able to straighten the bridge out. Since I straighten the bridge, we'd actually be able to straighten the road out there a little bit and cut down on that goofy intersection that's there. So that's the real benefit that those parcels would allow us in the future. Council wanted to take on the task of reconfiguring and reconstructing that bridge and that intersection. That's the benefit there. I mean, it has some ancillary benefits even if we reconstruct the current configuration, its materials and product storage, in close proximity, and it also allows easy access to get under the bridge to work on that as well, not only for the contractor if and when that bridge is repaired, but also for city staff when we need to maintenance that structure.
But that would be a big undertaking. I mean, we were talking doing the bridge for 300,000.
I believe to reconstruct in place was 300,000. To fully reconstruct was $500,000. So if you went to a reconfiguration, you'd probably be $750,000.
So you're looking way down the road. You're not looking for this current.
Yeah, I mean, at some point in time, to Mr. Kirk's point earlier about the culverts, I mean, at some point in time, you're going to have to address volume throughout the creek. Okay? So there is the likelihood that in the event the city can assimilate a plan to address the creek, you're going to have to change out several of those structures. And so at that particular location, that's the last structure in Riverside, there is a potential that you would have to update or upgrade the volume capacity of that location. So, and that might be a benefit. Another benefit to that location long term. While that is the last structure in Riverside, there is another structure and it's smaller in nature in Dayton, right at Smithville. So it's possible that even if we were to update and upgrade our structures, effectively you would then have a dam effect at that particular location. So depending upon how the bridge could be configured at that location, the parcels that were recently donated to the city could actually be trenched out and create a holding facility, retention or detention capacity to accommodate for that smaller capacity at the Dayton Bridge.
How big is the property that was gifted?
There are two parcels, so it's maybe between a quarter and a third of an acre total.
So what I'm hearing is Burkhart Road would be number 1. And which one do you guys want for number 2, Spalding Road? And then we can study the Fairfax Bridge and hope that we get the grant that we've already have in. And
Yep, I like that order.
and then, also like Mr. Kerb said, study the other bridges to see if that will help. Hopefully we can get some money from, an unlikely place would be DP&L, because actually when we were cleaning the creek, there is a pole that's in pretty bad shape there. You guys really need to be looking at that, because that is getting very dangerous, and somebody's going to have to address that from DP&L's end also. And so maybe there will be some help from some unlikely sources that we don't even know about. But there's some work needs to be done there, so. Okay, is that everyone's agreement? So I think you have your orders. Thank you very much. Thanks. Okay, next thing on discussion is discussion of the trash agreement option. Mr. Manager.
This item was brought back pursuant to council's request. Assistant City Manager Christian provided you an updated memorandum per your request at the last meeting. And with that, sir, I will move the floor back to council for further discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Anyone want to start the discussion on the trash?
I did a little research on one of the neighboring communities that has a low volume option that they provide their citizens, and that's the city of Kettering. They have 4 tiers of service that they offer. One is unlimited service, that's $19.77 a month, and an additional $3 for a month for 96-gallon toter. That also includes recyclables and bulk items. However, in the city of Kettering, if you want to put out yard waste, it's $3 a bag. You have to purchase the bag from the city or the city's agents, such as some of the large stores or hardware stores, that sort of thing in the area. They have a limited volume service that they offer, and that's 2 35-gallon containers a week and no toter. So 35 gallons is a modest size, but keep in mind a lot of people put a couple 30-gallon, 18-gallon to 30-gallon bags in a single toter. So 2 35-gallon containers a week isn't, it's a moderate amount. That's $18.29 a month. Riverside's current rate is $11.50 a month, so we're $7 to $8. We're
Unlimited.
$7 to $8 underneath Kettering. Now they have a senior low volume, and that's $3.02 a month. And for that, you get 1 35-gallon container per week. To qualify for that, you have to be over 65 years of age and an adjusted gross income of less than $30,000 a year. So that would be your pension, your Social Security, your interest and dividends combined. It's not earned income or anything like that. It's adjusted gross income. Bottom line on your federal tax code. Then you have something in between that and the other volumes, and they call that their low volume service 2, and that's $5 a month. And for that, you get 1 35-gallon container per month. You set it out the first week of the month, and that's your pickup week. And the rest of the time, it sits in your garage or your backyard or wherever you
Do they get
store it.
recycling with them?
You get recycling and you get bulk weekly, but your trash collection is 1 35-gallon container collected the first week of the month. To give you an idea what a 35-gallon container looks like, I borrowed this from the storage room, and this is roughly a 32-gallon container.
They got more trash on the bathroom.
So, well, these trash cans that we have around the offices are probably 6 to 8 gallons. So you get about 3 or 4 of these. But that's roughly a 32-gallon container. So for a low volume of for a senior, get 2 of those a week, if you're over 65 years of age and you have less than $30,000 in adjusted gross income.
So do you like that plan?
How do they build that?
1 second.
I don't know how to bill it. Whether they do, well, I'm sure they do their own billing because I know they don't put it on the tax bill. I think one of the service providers that we had here at the last meeting talked about the situation of when somebody puts out more than what they're entitled to. They probably have a route sheet of some sort that tells the driver which properties are permitted to put out a 35-gallon container and which ones can put out as much as they want. And what those representatives said was that they put out extra, they tag the bag, put a sticker on it, and they leave it there. They don't pick it up and take it. So,
They might color code those cans, so you know to pick it up just once a month.
well, you either have a toter or you don't. If you don't take the unlimited service, you don't get a toter. If you take anything less than that, you don't get a toter. So if you take the limited volume 2, which is 2 35-gallon containers a month, you don't get a toter to put it in. You just put it out. You may get a smaller container, but you don't get a 96-gallon cart or toter. Same thing with the other services, other levels of services. You don't get a 96-gallon toter to put your 35-gallon trash bag in.
Mr. Deputy Mayor Denny,
I believe, I understand the whole purpose of giving different levels, but I think the way, with us putting it on the taxes, I think it'd be very difficult for us to come up with a reasonable answer to be able to enforce that, and unless we're going to, for no better word, be the aggregate, we're going to aggregate, and we're just going to tell everybody, okay, we've got the bid, now you have to pay your bill, and we have the companies bill them directly instead of putting it on their tax bill. By putting it on the tax bill, I don't know how we're going to be able to enforce it, and I'm not real interested in having 4 bags of trash left for a month until the next month, because some folks would just leave it there until it eventually got picked up, and what's that gonna make our city look like if that happens? So,
The animals look like it.
yeah, I'm sure the raccoons and the possums would love it.
Mr. Funk, yeah.
As an addition to what Mr. Kirk talked about, I looked up Butler Township's plan. They use waste management. They have a 2-level option. One is a 96-gallon container, unlimited, which costs $14.75 a month, and a 32-gallon approach, that costs about $13.25 a month. Also called over to Beaver Creek, and again, they're the Wild West. They hire their own trash haulers. And, I'm not sure who the vendor was, but they're paying currently about $54 a quarter for unlimited trash pickup in the city of Beaver Creek. And again, I don't know if that's Rocky, if that's waste management, or that's, I'm pretty sure it's not city Dayton. So I'm interested in encouraging people to recycle. One way you do that is by doing this pay-as-you-go sort of approach. Encourages people to put more into their recycling bins. But I understand the concern with leftover garbage going into garages or behind garages. I'd like to offer limited people that have very little trash an option. But like Mr. Denning said, I'm not sure how we accomplish that on the tax bill. Although I'm sure it's possible that we could let them have a choice. So that's just a little additional information what surrounding communities are doing. I understand Newport Heights is looking into mandating be some integration, good things between the city of Riverside and your guys if that would happen, because these routes overlap so much on the north side of town.
And Mr. Borland and I have talked about, in the event he can get council to commit to do that, that we would cooperatively bid.
Would their stuff be done in time though? I mean, we're talking October is when they said they anticipated having some answers, and that sounds like it's pretty close.
It'll be close. I don't know if we'll be ready to go before then or not, but, I mean, we're gonna have to bid, we'll have to bid no later than probably 1st of October, because we're gonna have to get that information back. You're gonna have to make the decision, and then we have to allow, I mean, I'm gonna say at least the month of December to allow, you know, Dayton and whoever the provider is, in the event that it is not Dayton, that they're able to coordinate a change. So it'll be close.
And that was a nice thing about Dayton, you could interchange in the south and the north side. Because Forest Ridge is mixed in, and you get to the area, Woodbine and Woodman, it's all interchanges also. So, you know, Dayton just kind of keeps right on going. They might even, if we do just toters, they might give us a better deal, because then they can just keep on, you know, using their toter truck.
I guess I'm really curious about how much it saves to go fully automated.
I know.
Versus semi-automated. I don't know if we can, they're not gonna tell us that in a public session. I don't know if we can get that information.
Well, excuse me, I think what they told us was, ask them to bid it that way, and they will bid it, and then we get to see the numbers. So what we need to do, and I think what you needed from us, is what we need to have on the bid. The things that we need to ask them to bid.
Right. I mean, I'm sure that I guess let's say, for instance, let's call it pay-as-you throw. Right. Is that a service, while it would be nice to have, and while I'm sure it is a service that we were interested in the cost, is it worth our time to prepare bid documents that include that information if ultimately we're trying to find that number out of curiosity?
Okay. Before we go on, if there's anyone in the audience who would like to give their thoughts on this subject, please fill out a slip in the back and hand it up so that you can have a chance to talk about it. Ms. Campbell?
What size gallon dumpsters do we have now?
The containers currently, I believe, are 96-gallon containers.
Okay, we pay $24 a year for those.
I believe, I think it's
Directly.
$2.
Okay, what is the trash bill that's assessed to the tax?
It's $11.50, and then there's a 3% or 5%.
We use 5% for the county's administrative charge.
That's the county's administrative charge.
Do we still have that deal? I mean,
Yes, yes. So they have
But
one,
we don't know what the new bid will be.
when they initially offered,
I thought that was good for so many years.
well, I mean, keep in mind that was the arrangement proposed 5 years ago, and so the cost 5 years ago, $2 a month for a 96-gallon container, is still the price today. When Dayton originally proposed the contract, it was semi-automated, but if council mandated the 96-gallon container, they would reduce the cost to $1 container per month, if the city mandated the charge. Now, to the extent, Mr. Denning, that you had mentioned the fully automated pickup, I would tell you that while that would be an interesting number to know, I would tell you that service is highly unlikely to be effective in our community because it requires parking restrictions. So again, while it would be nice to know what that number is, to be able to mandate that all of our citizens park in a particular place on a particular date, I think is going to be significantly more cumbersome than anything.
I would be more interested in mandating that they put the trash can back in a specific spot instead of wherever they.
Not
Please.
arguing that. Not
Because
arguing that point.
one time it's where it's supposed to be, and the next time it's in the middle of my driveway, and when I come home, it's not the easiest thing in the world to go around. So, I get a little frustrated with that situation. The one thing that I would like to see us put in the bid, and it would just be a general statement, is some sort of whoever would have an incentive program for the city in general to increase their amount of recycling. So, as a for instance, someone could bid, if the city increases their recycling by, I don't know, 10% or 20% or whatever it is, that they would provide the city with some picnic tables for their park, or it could even be a 50 cent per person per month decrease in the cost of the service the next year. But I would like to see some sort of an incentive from them, and talking to them after the meeting last time, they said, at least a couple of them said that would not be a problem for them to come. There are they do have incentive programs for other communities out there, so all I'm asking is that however we ask them to bid, that we put some sort of incentive program out there for our citizens, so that they will, hopefully, we can get more recycling going.
I agree. We need to look at recycling, educate the public, and encourage recycling. But I also like the idea Mr. Fullenkamp brought up about the senior portion of the amount of trash that they put out. Because we are a bedroom community, and I don't know what the ratio is as far as retirees in our community. But that might be something worth looking at. It might be a nightmare in trying to bill or figure out how you would bill that. But I think that's an option we might want to look at. But I do agree that we need to encourage and educate our residents on recycling.
Let me ask, can you ask for bids on two different ways of doing it? Like, could we ask for a bid on unlimited service and ask for a bid on containers that are 64 gallon?
But, and I think Ms. Christian can probably provide more clarity, but as I understand it, in our bid specifications, we would say that the lowest responsive bidder would have to be able to allow for unlimited pickup, but provide 2 container options, or you might not even want a container option.
But we can't ask for 2 RFPs or whatever for 2 different kinds of service?
You're talking, so in other words, what is your price for unlimited service, and then
And what is your price for a container, yeah?
You mean for limited? For limited.
Yeah. Just for limited, yeah.
I don't see why you couldn't. The issue is going to be how we and the county segregate that out.
In terms of the tax.
Right. In terms of how the bill is assessed, and how we keep track of the member.
Well, on the limited, we would have, I'm guessing we would have to give them a certain size that we want. So, as Mr. Kerb said, 32 seems small, 96 seems pretty large. So we would say, okay, we want a price on unlimited, and then we want a separate bid on the 64 gallon container. And then when we get those prices in, then we would agree. You wouldn't.
And what you would do is
You couldn't
require
award
them.
it that day.
You would require them to bid both services initially. Now, the problem that you may have with the service providers, and they can speak better to this than I can, or Emily, if you can, is you're going to have an issue getting a price because they're going to bid against the unknown. Because we have not identified how many senior customers they're going to have, as opposed to senior limited.
But see, I wouldn't do I would just say we do unlimited, or else we do toters at 64 gallons, if that's what everybody can agree on, and ask for just those 2 bids
Well,
from each one of the.
I wouldn't worry so much about the size of the container. That is always
That's fine.
easy. That's always, there are multiple size containers, and we can work that language into the contract. The concern that I would have, and I think it's the concern that the haulers would have, is Mr. Smith here, he sells his house. He's on the limited throw. It's just him and his wife. So they're on the limited plan. So we're now going to assess them all year long on the limited plan. He moves out, and a family of 5 moves in. Now, that property is only paying for the limited throw.
That's not what I mean. I'm saying we do the whole city,
One way or the other.
one way or the other.
That's what we did before.
We do the whole city either, we bid it as the whole city. One bid would be unlimited service, and the second bid would be on
A limited service, yes. you
limited
could.
service.
Yes, you could do that.
And on the whole city.
Yes, you could do that.
Okay. And as their parking goes, we just have to tell people to push that toter out past the parking so
Well,
that people can.
there's a difference, there's a difference between limited volume and fully automated limited or fully automated unlimited.
Well, if we get the toter, then everybody would,
If you mandated the container, you could mandate automated service.
Right.
However, you're going to have an issue enforcing provisions to allow for the automated service. We would basically have to send a police car in advance of the truck that day on that route if you wanted all of the containers emptied.
no, they learn pretty quickly that they have to put it out.
I don't necessarily think that would be the case, sir. You may wind up having people that find a way to dispose of their trash in other ways, in the event that you have a limited throw program, or in the event that you have an automated program and the container can't be picked up that day or that week or that month.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to understand the concept of bidding a limited service. Are you talking about a multi-tier limited service like catering, or?
No, I'm thinking about how Dayton does it now with, you get a toter, and you fill that toter, and that's all you get for that week, and then every week. And I think that's the way our toters are now.
No, you can put bags beside it.
Oh, okay, well, in Dayton you
Stack
can't.
them up as high as you can.
Yeah, I mean,
But there are landfill volume requirements that apply to the city of Dayton proper that do not apply to its vendors.
Well, the reason I'm thinking that is because, I mean, you have so much recyclables these days that a lot of people don't have that much trash. So if we could do a toter of 64 gallons, and to have that bid just for 64 gallons for everybody.
Then Tom didn't match it with a 96-gallon recycle can.
Oh, $24 a year.
Oh, no, the recycle bin, Ms. Kristen, what was the recycle bin that Dayton has?
They have 96 gallons as an option. Right now, the small containers that you have right now are about 18 gallons.
Oh, so the other recycles are 96 gallons?
Yes.
Yeah, the big toters are, I mean, they have
I know
options.
that-
You could do 32, 64,
That's the
96.
best. 96 gallons.
That's so big.
I guess the concern I have with putting a limit on people is that when they reach their limit, what happens to the extra trash?
exactly.
It ends up behind the grocery store, it ends up in cul-de-sacs in the middle of the night, under the cover of darkness.
It ends up in the gutter and gets washed down into Lily Creek and clogs everything up.
The problem, but the other side of that is that people don't have as much trash as they had even 5 years ago. If you recycle, you don't, you can, it's hard,
But I think to Mr. Denny's point, if you incentivize the recycle provision, then those people who are prone not to recycle have a desire to recycle.
Hopefully.
All you can do is put the incentive out there.
Right. I mean, those who are going to recycle. I mean, to the extent that even my family and I, we're a family of 5, and I have 2 16-gallon containers that are already full. I've got 3 32-gallon bags full of recyclable materials next to them, and my 96-gallon toter has 2 trash bags in it, and trash day is tomorrow.
All that in a week?
Yeah. Family of 5, after all. Family of 5.
Milk jugs take up a lot
yeah,
of space.
I don't know if it's
So those people who have a desire to recycle, who are environmental conscious, are going to do that. And then there's a group that could be incentivized to change their mind, and then there's a group that they're not going to care. You could give it to them for free if they
If you have a
recycle.
neighbor that only has a small amount of trash, you could take it, put it in, ask him if you could put it in his.
Mr. Mayor,
Yeah, that's Mr. Chairman.
Can I bring mine over to your house? I'll just cancel mine.
No, you can't do that. But-
I think we should just go ahead and go to a semi-automatic unlimited with the, with or without the cart. think we should bid on that, educate people on recycling. I don't want to force anybody to do it that way. They'll just be voluntarily do it. Educate them why we like to see recycling, done, and also throw in the contract the vacation hold, for the snowbirds who takes off, in December or November and don't come back until March. They don't need to be paying for trash because they're not putting trash out. We should have that option where that can be eliminated from the bill if that's possible.
I don't think we can do
You
that.
can't do that based on.
That's it. That.
It's on the tax bill.
Yeah, I know it's on the tax bill, but can they submit to the county, that, hey, I'm gonna be, on vacation from November to March, or submit to us and we submit to the county, please don't, tax me for trash removal when you're not picking up any trash.
That may be possible, but I would advise council not to consider that, because what'll happen is everybody will say that they're snowbirds, and then then it's incumbent upon us to go and verify that these people are actually gone. Because ultimately what'll happen is the waste hauler will pick up more trash than what they're being paid to pick up.
Right.
And then that's gonna create a problem.
Is that perfect? Okay. But, okay,
So you're suggesting unlimited just like we do now?
yeah,
Yeah,
deja vu right now,
yeah.
but with more education on the recycling.
And an incentive program from
Right.
all.
We'll just get bids on that and the others. But I like what we have now.
I would really be interested in knowing what an automated service would save us, fully automated. Require everybody to have a toter, whatever we call it, card, to know what the savings would be. I know it just can't be out of interest, but I think it's something residents might be willing to adjust to if they see a significant savings.
It doesn't hurt to know. It doesn't hurt to know, but
Yeah.
like Brian is always, mentioning it costs us more in the long run to enforce it, to get everybody out of the way so the trucks can come in and pick up the material.
But I think he told us it was gonna save us $1 a month.
I didn't hear that, so
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't-
$1 a month on the toter.
What, the way that Dayton had proposed it would be that they wanted to mandate the container on a semi-automatic pickup.
Right.
So that their guys wouldn't have to lift the old conventional metal trash can
Right.
or the plastic so that their guys could roll it, so there was less lifting,
Right.
thereby minimizing injury to their personnel, and that's why they were willing to make that offer. So it wasn't to provide the fully automatic service,
Right.
it was semi-automatic, but
Okay.
So it would be $1
But that was gonna save us $1.
yeah, but
on the toter?
Yeah.
that was Dayton's original proposal 5 years ago.
Right, I remember that.
But the savings wouldn't come about just the saving of the toter, it'd be one person on a route versus 3, it's a labor issue.
No, I understand.
And I don't know what that number would be, so.
Now, when Dayton was here, they said there was a considerable savings to them. The way they do it now is they only have recyclables every other week and bulk pickup once a month.
No, we
That
don't.
would-
That's in Dayton.
That's in the city.
That's in the city of Dayton.
Yeah.
Exactly. would we want to consider doing that?
I like it the way it is.
You heard just a prime example from the city manager.
Because I like
He
our
has
city
more
being
recyclables than he has, throwaway garbage. Can you imagine what it's gonna
You
look
could
like?
effectively do that, sir, but you would have to require that everybody receive the 96-gallon recycle container. And I don't
True.
necessarily know if we would be in a position to do that. Again, Dayton's issue has been, with instituting these changes, they're trying to get underneath their threshold for the landfill requirements. That's why they're making those changes in service. But because we do not have the population and density that they do, we are not required to meet those mandates, which is why we can still have unlimited service.
But I wonder if there'd be a savings. I would think there'd be a savings. Because now they have 2 trucks going every week. And then they also have the bulky waste pickup every week going around.
They do have a bulk pickup for every week?
Isn't it every
No.
week?
You have
I didn't
the,
think
if you
so.
call.
You call in, they'll come.
Yes.
Well, I like it the way it is right now. And if we get $1 cheaper,
But
that's
if
great.
we can get it cheaper, if they only have bulk pickup once a month. I mean,
Yeah, then the zoning has to go around, right all the people up on the back street.
yeah, and that's the only problem, if you have a landlord has a person who moves out and they put all their stuff out, hoping they'll pick it up the next day.
Yeah,
And
I
I don't.
like it
I think the
way
money
it
you're gonna
is.
save is not gonna be enough to offset the inconvenience for the residents and the house.
You don't think so? 2 trucks out on the road that don't have to be out there?
And the dirtiness of the city.
I don't think so.
Mhm.
It's like, you know, like we said, that trash is gonna go somewhere, it's either gonna go behind the shopping center in their dumpster or in some vacant lot.
No, if they come every,
Yeah, Mike said-
even if we have bulky picked up every 2 weeks instead of every
No.
month or every
Well,
week.
as it is, if nobody calls, they don't send a truck out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's only when they call.
Yeah. I think it's great that way.
And I, you know, in driving through the city, I don't think there's that many calls for bulk pickup.
I would just simply say that if you had it, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. This is not a dissimilar service from what we have from Waste Management. This is not a dissimilar service from what we've had with Dayton. And the complaints that we had in '07, the last year, with Waste Management were not related to any one of the elements of service. The majority of complaints that we've had being with Dayton have not been related to service, they've been with container placement. So I would say that from the bulk of users, the fact that we're not hearing complaints that, wow, I wish they would recycle more, or wow, I wish that they would do bulk pickup less, to me would indicate that, while not perfect, we've dialed in a service as close to acceptable to the community as possible.
Just wonder how much money we could save by stopping them. Or,
$37.
all right, any other discussion from council? Hearing none, we do have some folks who would like to speak on the subject, so,
He's looking for direction.
Well,
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, not yet. We
with
wanna hear
Shop's
from our-
idea.
the citizens first.
Okay.
All right.
Tim Babb, Tim, if you'd like to come forward.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm actually with Republic Services. We own Allied Waste here in Dayton, and I wanted to make sure you guys know I was here. You can look at doing a limited base program with a 64 gallon. Brian's correct on the fact that if you're going fully automated, you have cars, it's a challenge. Doesn't mean you can't go semi-automated where they pull it out, and that's really the most ideal way. The cost savings, Councilman Fillenkamp, it's in workman's comp. That's where the cost savings is at. It's back injuries. It's not even the labor off the truck, because you go from a $180,000 piece of equipment to a $300,000 piece of equipment. The labor long has to outweigh itself. It's actually in the workman's comp savings. If you're looking towards a true limited, and Deputy Mayor Denning, you said you want to increase recycling. Unfortunately, education is not the best way unless you're doing it in schools, and that takes years to get up and move through. The best way is a limited source program. But the question is then, how do we control it for our people who have extra? If you look, there's a city, and I'd be glad to take any, there's a city in Madeira in Cincinnati. They have this exact same thing. It's probably one of the cleanest cities I've ever worked in. They have a 32-gallon container that the residents get for free. Then they can buy a $1 sticker for the rest of their garbage. And you can do it with the 64 as well. I would recommend a 64 for 32. 32s are absolutely small. 64 works better. Half of that dollar goes back to the city, which they put into different parks funds and things like that. The other half comes to us for the trash, the actual trash cost. Because it's our cost, it helps lower the city cost overall. So it allows you to increase your recycling because you're minimizing how much trash they get for free, which is good because then you get an increase in your recycling. But then it also helps you control your pricing. By the resident, if they have a lot 1 week, they buy the sticker, they put it on, 50 cents goes into a council fund of some sort that you set up, the other 50 cents goes to the hauler. And it's a very common approach, and it helps achieve everything that you're looking for. Getting the container out there to the cleanliness of the city, increasing recycling percentages, so you're up in the 38, 39%, that's where Madeira's at now. And then also getting the automation to get the reduction in cost there. So I just want to let you guys know there are some options out there. Yes?
So what is their base rate in Madeira?
They recently bid, and I believe they're at $11.15
A month,
a month.
but that's
be good.
That's with a 64 gallon.
So the 32,
2 gallon,
but I'll tell you, they pack those 32s.
I'm sure they do.
Is
Now-
that the largest you have?
That's the largest, no, we go all the way up to 96, okay?
Those would be better that way, because sometimes people put those little ones out, we get a storm, it rolls over, trash all over the place.
You do, if you look, I was in the city of San Francisco, actually Daly City, just outside of San Francisco, very windy place, had a big can problem with them rolling over. They put the containers in, trash blowing out, container stops. Raccoon problem goes down, it's harder for raccoons to get. Squirrels will eat right through the lids, it surprises me, but raccoons won't. But if you go with something in that manner, of a 64, you limit the garbage. Now 64 gallons, as Brian says, is going to contain most people.
Now, can you have a, like, say I wanted a 96, and he wanted a 62, can we have choices, what size we want?
Sure.
That would be good.
We can do that, and what we did in that situation was
You want
60,
it smaller,
30,
about the same price.
32 given by the city. Now you want to upgrade to a 96 or a 64 in theirs. It was $2 extra a month. That's paid for by the resident, same as the stickers. So it's a little bit more expensive because you have a little bit more trash, but it's still controlling. You can have that control.
Well, I got a 96 gallon, sometimes I have one bag, and other times I might overfill it.
Yeah, and that's a lot of older people have trouble
I'll
with
probably
those big
have
96.
64, in my opinion, is probably the best size if you have an older community. 32s, people tend to pack it in. It doesn't come all the time out. It gets hot, it gets wet. You get the 64, it works great. If you have an extra bag, you put the sticker on it, you throw it in. What they do with their large items is it's 10 stickers, it goes out with the trash, and they pick it up at the same time. Okay? What we see and what we're seeing constantly right now out of our H.H. Gregg's or Best Buys, they'll take away the stuff for free. Okay? How does that help the community? A, you're paying right now to have it picked up, because if I don't have to pay for it, I just set it out, it goes away. But now, if I know, I ask that question when I go to buy something. Do you remove it for free? Yes, we do. They take it, it's out of my hands. My community's not paying for it for that reason.
Now, if like if a tote was to tear up, they're replaced free, right? That's why I like to do that now. Big tote.
So that $11 and whatever it is includes, in that case, 32 gallons.
And they're recycling.
And recycling, and if we went to 64, it wouldn't make much difference.
64, you have a difference in cost at the transfer stations. You have Montgomery County transfer being in flow control. It's a little bit more expensive than the Cincinnati, where we can haul it, we control it ourselves. Take that out of the equation, it's not that much. The big thing, Mayor is right, every other week recycling, that's your big savings. You're taking a $300,000 piece of equipment off the road to drive. There is a lot of savings to be had there. If you can go with 96s there, it does work.
For the recycling.
Every other week with a 96, it really works. Now, I think you have, what, 1,100 residents? Is that right?
27,000.
About 10,000.
Residents.
10,000 homes.
10,000 homes.
10,000, I'm sorry, headed off by that, 10,000, minor details. But what you're looking at is you have 10,000 homes would equate to about $1 million in container capital. So it is a large outlay. I don't know what the length of your contract's been, 5 years, correct? If you can go longer, that'll also help reduce your cost. It also controls because the capital outlay gets lower and it brings it down. Even a 5-year with a 5-year option on it helps all competition bring the price down over time because you're actually making that container capital out longer and depreciating it at a greater amount.
We can keep the price down like it is now, would be great.
Now, I can't guarantee obviously the other price I haven't looked at bid. There's
Yeah.
many different
Well, I know,
factors.
yeah, we ain't gonna judge by that yet, but, yeah, I like to see if we don't have.
But like I said, if you guys would like to go down and see Madeira and see how it actually operates, I'll be glad to give my card afterwards. I can take a company down. Brian, obviously, you're more than welcome as well. and show you. I know, Emily, you have the DVD of automation, and they make it look great. And I know the city was done in Polk County, Florida, which has no on-street parking, so it looks wonderful there. It's not quite as easy as that works, but I can show you how it works in a place that does have a lot of street parking, and we still can run automation.
So it's still, when there's street parking, how does that work? There's an extender or something?
Hop out of the truck. They get out of the truck.
Oh,
Instead of getting out of the truck 1,000 times a day, we can cut it to 300 or 400 times a day. There's a lot less wear and tear on a man. And our human capital becomes a lot longer, our longevity becomes a lot longer.
And the recyclable barrels are just like the toters you,
Same ones, just a different color lid. It's the only difference.
Does the Madeira fee include yard waste, or how they handle yard waste?
They put it all, they combine it all together. So if they have a sticker, it goes on yard waste or trash, either or.
I just cram it, don't
Here, put it in your can, dump it the same. There's not a large, you'll see in the next 5 to 10 years, a large change in I think your next contract that a bid will have a lot different things out there with organic composting and yard waste composting and this composting and dry waste is the next big thing. But that's still 5 years off, so they really, 5 to 10 years, they can really sort out where is the revenue. The problem is, it's an unfortunate fact, as recycling goes up, the commodity market's dropping for it, so it kind of has a counterbalance to work with. And as the Chinese economy moves, so moves the recycling commodity price.
very good, very good. Any other questions for Mr. Bath? Thank you very much,
No problem.
very informative.
Not a problem. If you have any questions, let me know.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, Mr. Hoskins?
He well answered my question. I was thinking where there's 2 people in the house, senior citizen, I have 3 bags in my trash can tonight. And it causes disagreements even, because I told the wife, I said, I ain't taking it out. She said, yes, you are, we're paying for it. So seniors like me, we could get by every other week real easy.
I got one bag out there.
I could go longer, but I just had 2 weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Hoskins, thank you. Okay. I personally would like to seriously ask the council to consider, in my opinion, I think a 64-gallon toter and then a 64-gallon recyclable every 2 weeks.
64-gallon recycling.
64, we tell them we have to get a 64-gallon toter recyclable. And we get a 64-gallon trash container and have the recyclables picked up every 2 weeks. Since right now, right now we have a small little one and I fill it up, but how many gallons was that?
Well, you can
16
get more of
gallons?
those.
18 gallon? So you get a one that's bigger, 64 gallons, and do it every 2 weeks. As Mr. Bath said, you can save a whole lot of money.
Well, I mean, like, you can pick the size you want, right? I mean,
Not if we
I
decide.
think we should go with the larger, definitely go with the larger recyclable.
And then just do every 2 weeks.
I think we can ask the difference in the price for that, but I would like to, you guys show me dollars and cents.
Because you say, well, just say, look at the wear and tear you save on the road. You know, you've got.
I
less
appreciate all that, but if the difference in the price is $1 a month, and there are weeks when I'll fill up a 64-gallon in a heartbeat.
Recyclable?
Mm-hmm.
what do you got in it?
Every, when my grandson's there, milk jugs.
No.
I'm lucky you fill one.
Mr. Folkamp?
Addressing this automated issues, what you're saying is automated is okay, and when needed to be, you go semi-automated anyway. You'll default to that condition, but you'll bid it as an automated program.
Yeah, true, fully automated is very rare.
Just haven't
I
been.
mean, you have to have streets cleared and everything, as
Right.
the city manager said, so you're really bidding semi-automated.
But what you're suggesting though is that rather than 10,000 households that you have to jump out of, you'll jump out for 3,000
Right.
using your percentages.
And I personally, in the bid, I wouldn't even require an automated or non-automated. You're requiring a toter or a cart. Allow the hauler to choose which side they want. That'll get your best price.
What about inclement weather? How does that automated pickup go then?
Just fine.
Because you got snow drifts, snow piled up from the plow trucks coming through.
We can pull it out. It's not a problem.
Or the trash, or the bin, or the toter won't be there because I can't get it out to the to the curb.
The recycle bin, they have wheels on them?
Yes.
Because I got mine full of paper, I can't take it out.
Mr. Folkamp?
So back to this automated versus semi-automated system. You're saying not to specify semi-automated or
Right.
automated?
Just say you want total.
Specify the cart.
We want toters and we don't. then they'll bid based on what equipment they have on hand.
Right.
Okay. I see what
Allow
you're
the
saying.
hauler make the decision that's best, and we may have a truck that we're fully depreciated at that we can put in that's less expensive and helps control costs.
Gotcha.
I'm totally against the bi-weekly on pickup, so,
Yeah, I am too.
On the recyclables?
right, totally against it.
It's
Just,
just too confusing for the resident.
yeah,
No,
I think
But
it's.
Dayton does it all the time and they're not.
We're not
having
Dayton,
problems.
we're Riverside.
They're
yeah,
not having any problems, so we have to see when there's a community not having any problems, I don't care what their name is. If they're not having any problems and they're gonna save us trucks going up and down the streets, ruining our streets,
Yeah.
they're gonna save us
How many
money
residents
on,
do you remember to
on
put down on the
bill.
second Tuesday of the month, or
no,
the fourth Tuesday of the month, or whatever that may be?
I don't think it would be that
I
hard.
think you're gonna run into the same problem we just talked about earlier. The stuff ended up in the dumpsters and
If they have to hold it a
vacant
week,
lots and so forth. It could.
I don't
If they
think
can't
so.
remember when to put it out, if you miss that second week to put it out, now you gotta go another 2 weeks before you can
But
put it
if
out.
you're gonna save up $2-3 a month, wouldn't it be worth it?
Well, if you
Yeah,
need
you
a
can save
homeowner without trash in my garage.
Mr. Schock, why are you so opposed to that?
because the amount of recycling, if you want to encourage people to recycle, now you're going to even make it more difficult by having it bi-weekly.
But you're giving them a 96 or a 64 gallon container instead of versus an 18 gallon.
Yeah, but
There's
And you
people who
have
can fill
that.
that 64 up because it accepts cardboard, plastic, and all kinds of paper materials. They can fill that up in a week's time. Now, if you want to recycle, make it convenient for them to recycle. Don't make it inconvenient. Because you make something
I don't think
inconvenient, it's not
that's
going to
right.
happen. That's you, but we're talking about the general, general community. People, if you make it convenient for them, they will do it. And at this point in time, I'd rather them recycle, make it convenient for them to recycle, and we go, and move on and get that project and see, because we can change it. I think we can change it to a bi-weekly time after the 5 years.
Not a year, after 5 years.
Yeah, after 5 years, we can change it again.
But if we get
on
a
there,
couple dollar
but-
savings there for the residents, okay, all right, Mr. Denny.
Well, here's the problem. The problem with recycling every 2 weeks. Even though we're supposed to rinse everything out, how many of you really rinse out every milk jug and every can that you got before you throw it in the recycling? A lot of people, most people don't, okay?
We do.
And so therefore, if it sits there for 2 weeks, especially in 100-degree heat, it
There's
ain't
not
gonna
that
smell
much in
good.
there. It's not like there's a lot of garbage, it's just gonna.
No, it's the milk jug and the can
Which
with
has-
the
which is
tomato
gonna
paste
have
in it.
maybe
and
that much.
I'm just telling you.
I don't
I
think that's.
I think it's more important, and we need to make it convenient to them, for them to be able to recycle. And I think definitely go with the 4-gallon. No, it's not called a cart.
Carts,
I like it every week.
right, toters,
If you do it every 2 weeks, you're gonna have trucks overloaded, then they're gonna have to make extra trips, and it's gonna cost more on something else.
It sounds like the majority would rather go weekly. So I would think we just go ahead and go to our, unlimited program, with or without, with the card, and let the people choose what size card they want, because they pay for that anyhow. And just keep it simple.
Yeah.
Don't make it this bid process so complex.
But we're
that
trying to
we
save
won't be
money
able-
for our residents.
Well, the residents-
We're trying to save money and save our
But you're also
streets.
trying to inconvenience our residents. By going every 2 weeks.
I think you're really underestimating our residents.
I think you're underestimating our residents.
Both sides here.
Thank you. I mean, I know we're not Dayton, but if Dayton folks can handle it,
Well, it's
I
why
can't
we,
imagine that our folks can't
why
handle it.
don't we get the bids and then take it from there?
Well,
we can
no, we
just get it
have
out.
to tell them how to bid.
Well,
We don't need more than that.
Well, I guess, I would like to see the dollars and cents of the 2 weeks versus every week. Okay, if it's
Can
gonna
we
save.
get that
Well, of course you can.
number before without bidding?
Is that us?
No, we have to ask the
No, you
bid,
gotta bid.
ask for the bid.
Oh, that's what you did? Oh, would you be willing to do that?
We can ask
If
for
you
the
want
bid.
to, yeah.
Yes, I
If that
would
makes,
want
if
I
that
would
makes you
ask
happy,
for it.
Mr. Mayor,
That
so
would
be
make me
it.
very happy.
We can ask for it both ways, and then we can make
Right.
a decision.
Oh,
We can-
okay,
But we can
okay.
also, hold on, but we can also ask for 64 limited and
No,
unlimited.
I would-
Hold on, we can ask for the bid, we don't have to, take it.
I'd like to see that bid, to limit the amount of garbage that people
Right.
can put out, just to see.
No, just don't
And to
limit it.
really encourage
I
people,
don't know.
give them the incentive from the other side of saving a little money by recycling more. So,
Well, one of the things we need to talk about is the billing mechanism. Because if we're going with all these options, giving people options.
No.
No. I'm
No. We're not
not
giving
saying
people
we're gonna
options.
give people options, I'm saying
We're
we're
gonna
going
do
to
it
make
this
a
way or this
decision,
way.
one way or the other.
Exactly.
We're either gonna limit everybody to 64 gallons
And a 64
and a
gallon
64 gallon
Let
pick
me-
up on recycling.
recycling, or we're gonna go the other way.
Let me restate it, instead of giving people options. If we're looking at options of a 96 gallon toter versus a 64 gallon toter, and people have extra trash, now the question comes up, how do we work that into the bid as far as the payment? Because you can't do an assessment and then ask the county treasurer to deduct on certain months because somebody's a snowbird in Florida.
Right.
Or they're in Michigan or Wisconsin.
We threw that one out.
Yeah, that one's done.
If you're gonna ask for different levels of bidding, then you've got to consider the billing mechanism in that bidding process, the bids that you get. Because if you're putting a limit of 64 gallons of regular trash, 64 gallons of recycle, and somebody has more than 64 gallons of regular trash, how do the waste haulers handle that as far as telling us how much to have the county auditor assess against the tax due? It's a,
I think that was answered.
it's a billing issue, and what you're doing, if you're gonna use stickers, then that's one thing, but if you're not using stickers, then what do you do with the extra trash, because they're limited to 64 gallons?
Well, I think what I was looking for was, I would like to see the price of the 64. Okay, limited trash, limited, tote for the recycling, okay? And then I would also like to see the price on unlimited trash with a 64 gallon, recycling bin, okay?
I thought we had the option for
No,
96.
With a 96 gallon, that would be a 96 gallon trash can. But that would be unlimited, so if they put extra, if they fill up the 96 and they put extra out at Christmas, it still gets picked up, okay? But I want to see the differences in the price there, so that I can make an educated decision on which way we should go. Now, if we choose, if the lower price is, I mean, if it's tremendously lower to go 64 gallons of trash, then we come up with the sticker program, that goes with that, so that if they have 87 gallons of trash, they can put a sticker on there, and the hauler gets 50 cents, and we get 50 cents, or whatever the deal is. But that, I mean,
So we already know the answer.
You're gonna have to know that in advance.
okay.
You're gonna have to know that in advance. So basically, if I have this, if I understand the conversation to this point, you were asking us to assemble a bid package for 2 distinct services. First would be a required 64 with an option to plus up to the 96 gallon container for trash, unlimited service, with a 96 gallon recycle.
Or it could be a 64 gallon.
Let him finish, let him finish.
Unlimited service.
Right.
Okay.
Go on.
Then
you were asking for a 64-gallon limited general waste with a 94-gallon container mandatory for recycling. And then for the vendor to propose their solution or their remedy to address all trash in excess of the 64-gallon container.
You forgot the bi-weekly on recycling.
Yeah, where can we throw the bi-weekly in there?
Now, I thought you was throwing the bi-weekly
Okay,
on that one.
well, okay, let's back up. I guess I don't understand, I think you could do the bi-weekly recycling on unlimited trash, but you couldn't do bi-weekly unlimited trash.
Is that, oh, really?
I'm saying you could, I'm saying from a realistic perspective, if you were going to compel me to limit my trash, I'm gonna get creative, or I'm going to be more diligent about recycling, because I've gotta drive down the amount of traditional trash that's going into my container. So therefore, I'm going to get creative in identifying, or I'm going to be more diligent in identifying recyclable materials. So all I'm saying is, okay, if you want to do 64 on unlimited, whoop-de-doo. But if you're going to compel 64 limited, then you're going to have to allow for the extra recycling, and you're going to have to allow for it weekly. I don't see how you're going to limit collection and not provide an alternative location for that refuse to go.
So you're gonna have to put the recycling on the unlimited,
The bi-weekly.
the bi-weekly.
Both have to be unlimited.
What I would say is that you would have unlimited trash,
Right.
Like we do now, without the toters.
unlimited trash, mandating the 64 container, mandating the 64 recyclable container. You could do recycling every 2 weeks. If you are going to limit the amount of trash to 64, then I would tell you, it's my opinion, you would need to go to 96-gallon recycle pickup every week.
Like we have now. That's what
No.
I'd rather see it like we have now.
Now you have unlimited.
That's what,
With,
that's what we
what I would
have.
like to see is what we have now,
I was
except,
talking. I know.
okay,
No,
go ahead. No, you said you want to talk.
Well, you keep, tell me to shut up. You don't.
I never tell you to shut up, but go ahead.
The unlimited, like we have now. What's wrong with that?
I didn't say there was anything wrong with it. I'm just trying to understand what council's telling me to do.
I'd like to see it done that way. Unlimited. With it, he said we could pick the size of container we want, or is it mandated?
If I was going to do unlimited, as you're doing now, I wouldn't even require a container. You're adding cost for less benefit from the hauler side. The container then only benefits the city's look, and you're less expensive going to be without a container. I think your best option here, if you really want to get down and make it easiest for Brian, bid it like you have now and ask for alternatives on unlimited garbage, and that's going to be the easiest bid for Brian to do, and allow you guys to see a lot of different options.
Now, what was that again?
You bid it exactly like you have it now,
Right.
and then ask for alternatives to be reviewed at the time.
Okay, exactly like we have it now. So, and then ask for,
I would disagree, and I appreciate the suggestion, but the problem is everyone's gonna bid it differently.
Right.
And so what'll happen is they may have the best bid, they may have a win under certain conditions, and Dayton would have better rates under other conditions, and so you're not comparing apples to apples. That's why you have to be, and I appreciate you trying to make it easier on me, but at the end of the day, what you're gonna have is you're gonna have every contractor who's not selected crying foul, saying, well, that's not what we did, and you didn't specify the container size, and so we went with this size. Had we known, if we'd have gone with that size, you're gonna wind up creating bigger headaches at the end of the
Well,
day for everyone.
can't you break one down, how you want it,
in this game,
and then have the unlimited too? A couple different bids.
You could, I'm just trying to make sense of all of the thoughts that everyone has put forward on the table. So if my understanding is incorrect, well, that's fine,
Well,
give me better understanding, give me better
One like
direction.
it is now, one like it is now, and what, whoever else wants a different one.
okay, one like it is now, okay, I agree with that. Okay, and then one where we have recyclable every other week.
Bi-weekly.
That would be two different bids. Like Dayton,
Did you listen to what Sim Andrews said in terms of if we limit garbage, there'll be more demand for recycling?
Yeah,
but if we get a 96-gallon container versus an 18-gallon container, that should solve that problem. But if we're gonna go unlimited, it's not gonna, okay, wait a minute. If we go unlimited, then we're not limiting the trash.
Right.
So a 96-gallon recyclable then every 2 weeks.
No.
The only reason I would propose going to limited is to drive more recycling. That to me is there's a clear connection there. If we're not willing to do that, then unlimited is how it's going to end up. And I don't think there's really any limit on recycling anyway, right?
No.
So, you know, I understand the cost savings associated with once every 2 weeks on the recycling. I'm listening to what Sim Andrews says, and that makes some sense to me in terms of the volume of recycling. If we go to a limited trash pickup to recycling, we're going to get more recycling. We're going to go from where we're at now, about 17, 18%. That's going to rise.
Well, the suggestion I had was that we would have unlimited trash like we do now. That's what Mrs. Campbell's at.
Trash and recycling.
And then recycling, insist on a 96-gallon container every 2 weeks. Those are the only two options we have now. We're not limiting trash at all.
On either.
On either one, yeah.
I think we should consider that, but I mean.
Then that would be a third bid.
That's the choice of council. I would support it.
But at our last meeting though, the city of Dayton said that our recycling percentage was around 50%.
No.
Half of our residents were recycling.
Well, we talked about it in terms of diversion. I think the number came out around 17 or 18%. The amount of trash that we divert from the landfill. And that's how they really measure recycling, is how much do you divert from landfills.
That's correct.
That's correct. Your participation's actually at 50%, but your version's at 17%. You actually have two numbers. You're both actually correct.
That's based on tonnage?
Correct.
So,
And his comment related to the Cincinnati suburb that he gave was 30%.
right.
And that was with a limited program. So we have unlimited, and yet we're still diverting 17%. So I don't necessarily know, and of course there's all kinds of things, demographics, household, et cetera, that come into play there. So I don't necessarily know that education or that limiting refuse, general refuse to the landfill is going to significantly increase recycling. It may. I'm sure it will increase the percentage of diversion, but I don't know if it will significantly increase the percentage of diversion when you're talking 30% was the reference that he gave.
Well, I mean, it's no different than an incentive on the other side, right?
Right, which was the original suggestion from Mr. Denning is, okay, if I can't educate you to do it, and I can't limit you
I can't
volume-wise,
force you.
I'll pay you back to do it.
Yeah, or in this case, you'll pay to push trash out.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I think Brian has a good concept of what all we want. My suggestion is let him,
Come back to us.
let him draw up the bid contracts, have them ready for the
Three
next
different
council,
ways?
have them ready for the next council packet, let us review it, because we spent 45 minutes talking about trash,
And we don't know what the,
and yeah, we're talking a lot of trash here. Anyhow, then we review it and see if we all are satisfied. Because I think he has a grasp of summary what we want on this, and let's
ask you, do you think you have a grasp on what we want?
Okay, Ms. Mitchell, very quickly, because you got this in here late.
I will make this quick. My name is Edith Ann Mitchell. I live at 1125 Mayapple Avenue. Most people say they want me for my experience, but very few people really do. But at this point, I think I'm going to give you a little bit of my experience. About 10 years ago, we had a business here in Riverside that had a serious rodent problem. They did clean it up. It took a lot of work. main thing they had to do was get the trash up off the floor and make sure it got disposed of in a timely manner, and clean up their business, plus a few other things. I've seen other businesses that begin to have the same type of problem, and it's always because of trash.
But we don't do businesses.
Yeah,
But-
we're just
but-
answering the concept.
But
Yes.
if you go storing trash in your garage for 2 weeks, I can guarantee you, you are going to have a rodent
We're
problem.
only recycling, we're only storing recycling.
Recycling has had food in it, no matter how well you rinse it. Because this business also had the same concept on some things. This is why they ended up with pests. Not only will you have rodents and critters, you will get skunks, possums. It's all a food source. You know, unless you're gonna wash it in your dishwasher, and I'm not gonna do that, you're gonna have a rodent problem, a critter problem.
I disagree
So
with you, but I know
want
I'm.
the bigger recycle bin.
Okay, thank you. I disagree with you, but thanks for, I know I'm allowed to do that to you.
Yeah, you are.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, Mr. Manager, you kind of know what you have.
I think I'm going to try and summarize. I heard that we now have 3 options. We want the manager to try and frame into I'd like for us to review what those 3 options are, give the manager a little clearer
Okay,
concept.
I agree with that. You want me to attempt to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Option number 1, just like we do it now. Option number 2, unlimited trash, but a 96-gallon toter every 2 weeks. Option number 3,
For recyclables.
that's for recyclables, yes. Option number 3, 64-gallon, we didn't say it's any size gallon container, limited, any size gallon container, and any size gallon recycling. Every week, both every week? Yes.
That's what we have now, isn't it?
That's what we have now.
No,
No, we have the first.
So,
we have number 1 now. We don't have number 3. Number 3
I think
is,
you confused them more.
number 3 is limited. You're only allowed to put it.
Oh, limited.
okay, so,
Recap number 3 again.
Option number 3, Steve, it was
Okay,
yours.
well, my suggestion is going to be limited trash, maybe we set it to 64 gallons. Weekly pickup. Recycling, a container also,
What size?
don't care, 64, whatever we choose. And I don't care if it's bi-weekly or weekly. I mean, that's.
But just say weekly, because if you're limiting, we'll go back to what you were saying. If it's limited, then you're going to have problems.
That's not clear.
no, okay. For the sake of argument, as we do it now, got it. On the unlimited for both, I'm assuming you want to mandate containers.
Oh, wait, what was the question?
That you want to mandate containers,
Are you talking
For
about
limited.
unlimited.
for the first one?
Unlimited is like we do it now.
Yeah, whatever we're doing right now.
Let's back
Number
up.
2
Yeah.
was whatever we do now, only recycles every 2 weeks. Number 3 was,
Hear me out. The issue, part of the issue is saving money, right? That's big. It's
that's a big one.
Okay, now, out of the horse's mouth, one of the ways that they reduce expenses to the end user is by limiting the number of compensation claims that they have to pay to employees for lifting containers. So, if you want to provide the variety of services, and you're going to begin to mandate, you're going to compel recycling through whatever means that you determine.
Encourage.
Do you want, uniformity is what gives you the efficiency and the effectiveness. So to that extent, if you are going to limit recyclables,
then do you want to compel containers? Every person has to have a container.
For all three plans.
No,
Under,
only for,
as we do it now,
only for your plan.
as we do it now, you have the option to get a container from the provider, you can go to Lowe's or Home Depot, you can just put your bags out at the curb. That's how we currently do it, that's what you've asked, that one's loud and clear.
Right.
Then there's the one where you want to compel recycling every 2 weeks. If you were going to compel recycling every 2 weeks, easiest way to do that is to provide a container for them to use for recycling every 2 weeks. If you're going to mandate they have the container for recycling, it would follow that you would mandate that you're going to give them the container for trash as well.
Why?
It just makes it easier and less expensive to pick it up.
In theory. And then the final, if you're going to do limited waste and unlimited recycling, you are going to have to compel a container for both for everyone.
Which is right around $1 million in container fees. Costs.
That's the cost
Well,
of,
to the
that's our
to the
cost, right, it's our
provider, but
cost.
that's gonna be passed on to us.
Slightly. As longer your contract, the less it goes.
Right.
Let's see how all three shake out. I don't know, you're still questioning number 2, right?
I just need to know if you're going, if we are going as a community to compel waste containers under the second option. You're already going to compel everyone to have a recycling container under that option.
What size is our recyclable container now?
18 now.
They're distributing 32.
Well, you can get more than one if you need it.
It's 18.
You can get bigger ones too.
Yeah, you have to carry them.
And you can get up to 96.
So actually, what you're saying is 2 and 3 aren't any different.
No, I am saying that. All I'm asking is under option 2, you already are going to compel them to have a recycled container. Do you not also want to compel them to have a waste container? You're already making them have one. Do you want to make them have 2?
And the reason you would want to compel them to have 2 is because it saves on workman's comp.
Which is what he said. If you make everybody have the container, then they make the determination on whether or not it's auto or semi-auto, and in either instance, they're lifting fewer containers, which means that it should reduce injuries at work, which means it should reduce workers' comp claim, which means it should reduce our cost.
If you had managed container.
Right.
Well, that's,
Correct.
could we do that on the unlimited with the managed container on everything? And can the people pick their own choice of how big?
What I would do is I would simply set up a minimum. So under option 2, for trash, unlimited, weekly pickup, I would mandate that the provider do a 64-gallon container, and it is the option of the resident, or the homeowner, the property, whomever, that I have the opportunity to buy up a container if I so choose.
96 gallons.
But the minimum to 96 gallons, the minimum container that every resident would be provided under the second option is a 64-gallon container for trash. For recycling,
That's
which
all.
you want picked up every 2 weeks, I would mandate a 96-gallon container.
Okay.
No, I think it should be weekly.
Okay, for ease of time limitations and that, I think that we should do number 2 that way.
Okay.
Which way?
Yeah.
No one-
Uh,
Mandate containers.
Unlimited container, but everybody mandated 1 container.
Both.
For both.
And we're doing recycling every 2 weeks.
No.
Well, that's plan 2.
Yeah, plan 2 is what we're talking about. Yeah.
That's plan 2. I really wanted it unlimited trash, and like Dayton does it now, but if you don't think that's going to help us, then no.
No, it's still unlimited trash.
But it's a limited container. No, you're saying unlimited trash. Dayton says you gotta have it all in one container.
That would be limited. That's option number 3.
Mr. Kirk, do you understand?
Well,
I'm not sure I do.
well, if you have unlimited trash under number 2, you have unlimited trash,
Right.
and you give them a 64-gallon container. And you have recycling every 2 weeks, but in a 96-gallon container. You're still gonna have the same amount of trash coming out of the house, and what's gonna happen is, and you have the same thing in number 3, where they don't have enough room in one container, they're gonna put it in the other. So if they run out of space in the recycling, they're gonna throw it in the regular trash. If they run out of space in the regular trash, you're gonna throw it in the recycling, which defeats the purpose. And I'm not sure I see that much difference between number 2 and number 3. And I'm not sure I see that much difference between number 2 and number 1. If you're going unlimited trash, it's unlimited trash, regardless of the size of the container, because you can give them a 64-gallon container, but they can put trash bags out there right next to it or on top of it.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand why it has to be a limited container on trash. Why can't it be, well, I guess I do understand it.
Well, but
this comment that it's
idea-
going to save on workman's comp.
But that idea didn't come from the city manager, that idea came from council, having a 64-gallon container to drive more trash into the recycling process.
All we're doing is just giving him direction for perimeters to get bids. We're not voting on it yet, we're just
Okay.
perimeters. So let him draw up the perimeters, let him go out there and let us review the perimeters when he has it done, and make sure that's all how the 3 bids we want,
If you can get any
you know,
idea
done.
of savings.
And, then take them out for the bid, and when the bids come back, then we'll make our decision on what we go by.
Well, I think if we're gonna do the recyclables every 2 weeks, we need to upsize that container.
Well, let's-
96 gallons.
Yeah, it is 96
Let him-
gallons.
No, it's 64. It was 96, and they changed it to 64.
No, we didn't say that. It's,
No, they didn't. Yeah,
we
they said
didn't say
96.
that.
So, but let him get his perimeters, because we are ready. I can't believe we spent over an hour.
Well, I want to get this right. This
We'll
is-
get it right, just let him get the perimeters and let us look at it, and we make sure it's exactly the way we want our contracts bidded on.
And an
On
incentive
it.
program on recycling.
On there. So,
Very quick, very, very quick.
We can add one more to that, it's still y'all dictating to the hauler what the system's gonna be. Let the hauler add one more bid, him ask the hauler for one more bid, what would be the cheapest?
just, let's,
Okay. Mr. Manager, you kind of got it?
you can handle it.
Sure.
There
Thank
you go.
you, sir.
That's all we need to hear.
And an incentive program on all of it.
Okay, next thing is, we want to talk a little bit about our trip to Turkey. Welcome, Mr. Wick. Glad to see you. And I just want to say this guy was, Anthony was our guide and our savior many times. And so we're going to talk a little bit about Turkey. So I'd like for Bob. Bob, I want you all to know Bob did a great job. He was out there and he made it fun sometimes and very serious other times. So we were very, very good. So I'd like to come to the middle and start the conversation, and I'll let you guys take it from there. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Very good. Okay. You guys want to come up here?
Good one.
All right. First thing, I'd just like to give a little perspective on the history of the Antishka Turks. The Antishka Turks were part of, you guys help me out here, were part of old Russia. And when Russia broke up, they became part of Georgia, the country of Georgia. Georgia really doesn't care for them to be there. For that reason, they are being persecuted very heavily in Georgia. So in order to help them find a homeland, because now they don't feel like they're residents of Turkey, they don't feel like they're residents of Russia, they definitely do not want to be residents of Georgia. They want a homeland. We started in Dayton with about 150 families 2 years ago. Now we have over 400 families, and they are continuing to come. And so we wanted to provide opportunity for them, and this is where I'm going to step back, and we're going to let these folks, whichever one wants to go first, to talk about the opportunities we talked about and how we went forward with this process.
Well, first of all, Mayor, I want to thank you and thank the council and certainly your city manager for making certain that Riverside was represented on this, what I called a trade mission of opportunity and to foresee future things that can come back to Riverside as well as our region and state. Obviously, I can say to you that you had great representation with your Director of Planning and Economic Director, Mr. Murray, and certainly your Mayor. They both had a very strong part of the trip. Each was a very vital part of explaining to individuals such as prime ministers. We were not able to meet with the prime minister, but we met with the deputy. The prime minister was there, as well as obviously the president understood that we were in country. So it was a very high-level visit for those of us coming out of Ohio. That said, we have in the years, the last 3.5, 4 years, we have been engaged with the country of Turkey. The U.S. government has always looked at Turkey favorably because it is the gatekeeper to what is happening into the Middle East. That had opened doors once what you heard the mayor say about the disenfranchisement of a people. They chose to come to Dayton. Once they got to the region, they ended up finding that this was a much better place than being in Idaho or New York or any other part of the United States that they were sent to. Some of you know that I was Governor Voinovich's director, and at that time I started working with Turkish individuals. There's a large percentage of them in Youngstown. So it's not that they're new to our state, because that goes back to the 80s. It's just that they're new to our region. They've come in and taken houses in the lower end of Troy, that area where a lot of our immigrants came in and made real futures for their children and futures for our community. They've taken those little houses and made them very marketable. In fact, they've changed the whole image of that corridor so that houses that were blatant and blatant in the community now are very strong housing market there where people want to come back in. They've helped giving us back a community. So they made the investment, their money, their time, and their energy. So of course this trip was very important to look at what other things we do in this region. And thank you for the cemetery. That means a lot to the Ishka Turkish community.
That's all I had to say was they've got a cemetery for them, and all the leaders and the presidents of the chambers and the mayors all were very, very impressed with that. Because again, it gives them a homeland. It gives them a place.
And His Excellency, the Vice or Deputy Prime Minister, please note in other countries we have presidents. The power in Turkey is the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister. Those are the decision makers there. So you can imagine what this was. Bob had an opportunity to talk about economic development, not only for what you offer here, but also looking at what is possible throughout the region. And obviously, they also had an interest in the state. I'm going to stop there, Bob, and kind of let you go on.
Well, I guess what I'll transition to is how warmly we were received. These are a very warm people. They really extended a welcome to us beyond what we would have perceived. Everywhere we go, we were greeted with open arms. From the Prime Minister's office all the way down to the local Chamber of Commerce's guy on the street. I never felt safer. Wherever we went.
That's because we had Secret Service with us the whole time.
That's beside it. Along with that.
Well, they were interesting souls, I'll tell you.
Yeah, like Anthony alluded to, Turkey's a very strong economy. And they were building from one end of that country to the other. It was just a fabulous trip all around. The opportunities are immense. The work we have to do to get back in touch with the people that so warmly received us is immense. And we do see this as a regional effort. We do see this as helping BDC connect with the local people in the Turkish country. We do feel like we have the benefit of the Turkish Kishkit community, which is here, which negates any language barriers that may exist between our two countries. Again, I would stress the willingness on the part of the Turkish people to come and participate in this economy. And that Turkey is a country extremely strong. Their average age is 28 years. They do not have a banking system problem. They're moving forward. They are strategically located. And again, these are very good friends of ours, both at the very high levels. And what we're trying to do is make it very personal now. We met people that will become our friends and we can rely on for future economic development. I invited Anthony for two reasons. One, the first was to tell a little bit outside of the local people what went on there, but also to thank him for his leadership in getting this together. And he was the ringmaster of the event. He was an excellent conduit between the Turkish community and ourselves, so I want to thank you personally for that. What we have in front of you covered up are just a few of the gifts that we received. Again,
So one thing before you do that is just one last thing. The whole idea became clear is that if we ask the Turkish government to, the Turkish businesses to come to and buy in America, be part of America, and create jobs here, then the folks coming in from the Antishka Turks can have jobs, and they'll hopefully give us enough jobs that there will be more jobs for the Americans. So,
and you said that, Mayor. You know, the other part is that they want to do business. The United States had said it made it okay for us to do business. Absolutely. So it's not just what we're doing here. This is national. So it makes sense for us to really get ahead of the curve. We have an opportunity that other parts of the United States haven't really moved on a lot. We met with 4 different mayors, 4 different large communities, some of which were much larger than our whole region. But everywhere you look in Turkey, because it's multi-use of everything, business is everywhere, small and medium-sized businesses. These individuals want to participate. They now know where you are, and so you can bet they've been Googling all about Riverside. I got some emails today from some of the folks that were back there. These folks have become a part of the Turkish community now that I think can be your drum majors for greater opportunities in economic development. So I think it's just a great opportunity now that we are going to have to do a lot of work from this point forward, obviously. The Consul General of the United States also said that they welcome our involvement in helping to produce partnerships and business opportunities. So as you can see, not only were we there for the Turkish side, we had the highest level of U.S. government.
we had a meeting with those folks too, and they were very encouraging to us to continue to move forward with this process. So is there any questions about, before we get to that, is there any questions that anybody has about our mission and what we were doing? Anybody? Anybody from the audience? Yes, Sissy.
You know I'm always going to have a question. How many of your nationality are already here in the Riverside area?
Well, you have the Muslim cemetery here,
right.
You know, over off of Troy. And obviously there are some Turkish individuals throughout the area. I don't know what the number is. We have about 450 families there in the Dayton area that are Hishka Turkish, not just Turkish.
We also have living in...
The Hishka ones are the ones from Georgia that are
right.
persecuted.
Do they have a church in the Riverside area?
Is there a mosque?
Well, we don't have, there isn't a mosque, but I can assure you the President of Islam and others, and Bob is excellent at what he does, so you can bet he stays on top of making sure that we are abreast of what is going on here in the community. And he certainly shared with us, he and the mayor, that there is land and things to be looked at
Yes.
as we pursue those things. Now, as to say to you that they would do a mosque here, I can't say that. But there is a large number of Muslims in our area.
Well, we are reaching out to churches or Muslims that are not born in the United States in my committee to try to get them involved with
the
my
community festival.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
And we're making a very strong attempt to contact all these people. And that's why I wanted to see if you had one, at least that'd be one we could
Well,
go to.
they do have a community center that they just purchased, the East Turk Community Center. They purchased it about a month ago or so ago.
Is it in Riverside?
It is actually, it's the old Baumberger Center on East Fifth Street.
Let's see,
So-
this is a Riverside Community Festival, so we're trying to reach out to residents.
They're all gonna end up here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Well-
but if he's already got one, then I will be able to go to it.
Two things, what the general public might not know is we have quite a few Turkish pilots that are practicing in Wright Pat and in Springfield, and quite a few of them are living in Page Manor.
Absolutely.
With that, I would like to
Yeah,
reach out to.
Absolutely.
The other thing,
Manor is within
yeah,
my area
absolutely.
of Riverside.
The other thing we found out on our trip, that we didn't know before we left, is Riverside, along with being the home of the National Museum of the United States Air Force, is also home now of the largest Muslim cemetery in the United States of America by
That's
about an acre. By about an acre. So,
Every
and
little
that's
bit helps.
considerable. So that's, again, it's a community we're reaching out. And I say it before, one of the lines I use is we're the holiest of holies. We have 82 churches in Riverside.
I know,
A
unless someone's
Sikh
in my
temple,
lap.
a Sikh temple, a Buddhist temple, the Muslim cemetery, and so, again, we covering all our bases here.
I never thought about when Bob and the mayor would mention that, it really went over well to those individuals who run the country. We sometimes take like cemeteries for granted. Well, you wouldn't take that for granted if you were a Muslim and you had to be buried in a certain way. And especially for our elders, our grandparents and great-grandparents. The other part of that, I just thought, ma'am, as you said that, and maybe another opportunity for the Guinness Book of Records as well. To bring, because of economic development as my background, I'm always looking at tying that to marketing and finding another way to bring visibility to the community.
Right.
And it was important enough to them that they take that very seriously, and that was the Deputy Prime Minister.
Yes, yeah, I just would like to get everyone, no matter who they are, involved in our festival, because that's what it's for.
Well, I'll share that with
To bring
Islam, our president.
unity among all of Riverside.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you all, and move over here.
Again, this is some of the things we received, and again, in many cases, we're a region of about 2.3 million, and when you talk to the, Istanbul, they're 12 million population. And these are some of the things we received. I don't know if we want to walk through them or not, but
Yeah, just a quick.
sure, go ahead.
This here was given to us by the Chamber, I believe, of Istanbul.
It's Chamber, yes.
Yeah, Istanbul Chamber. And this is just one of many of the kinds of plaques that they have. And they're always given in a very nice box, which was kind of a challenge getting them home on the airplane. But Bob received one of these. I received 5 of these. So every time that I heard, 4, I guess, I'm sorry, 4 of these. And every time I went to, no, it was 5. Every time we went to somebody, we always got a gift, the mayor's got a gift us very similar to this.
No, I didn't receive
Can you
this.
show that to us?
I received
Oh,
this.
I'm sorry.
The city received this. These
These are the cities.
This space here, and that's an enameled tile, Turkish tile, which is a very famous process that they use, and very well known, and they're a fortune.
They are known throughout the world for tile industry, and obviously you'll see that that's hand painted. Everywhere we walked was marble, because that's another commodity in the country, coupled with aerospace, defense. In fact, everything that Bob would talk about and the mayor, it just aligned up with what they were already doing, whether with us or somewhere else in the world, in the United States.
Our top 5 economic sectors go very well with their top 5 economic sectors.
They're very popular for their plates, and as I said, some of the gifts that I received weren't just that way, that they were plates. And this is from the city of Bursa. Bursa was having a festival when we were there, and just getting started. We had gone to Ankara the night before, and they were having a huge festival that night, and we were very well received. We got to ride around in a golf cart, and it was quite a night. But Bursa gave us this and this and a towel.
Large
And also the book that I hope you'll all take an opportunity to read. It's a bit heavy, but we can send that around.
And Bursa, actually, we talked to their chamber. Their chamber, I felt, was more enthusiastic than even the Ankara in Istanbul, because Bursa was a little smaller, a little more like our community, and we're very involved and intrigued by our presentation.
They gave us the most stuff. So that's the place.
And the governor of Bursa, we met with the mayor and the governor. And the governor was he had done his homework about Riverside and the Dayton region and the state of Hawaii. So you can see how progressive they are as a community. These gentlemen and this lady here, Ms. Rain, just picked up the book. You can see that's quite a book.
Yeah.
That is a lot in a city. I wish we could, something we're going to have to do in our region too, to be able to showcase what the region has, as well as our individual cities within that region.
And this here was given to the city, not to, we mayors didn't get one of these. I was kind of glad because it was so heavy. I didn't want to get it on the plane. It's very, very heavy. I'll pass around. It's from the Republic of Turkey's Ministry of Interior. And so they just gave one to each city, and asked us to pass them on to you.
That's the building. This is building.
And as he's passing it out to you, please note in April, and we will be hosting a trade summit in April here. And of course, when we had an opportunity, I think that I put the Consul General in a position to say that the U.S. government will also be able to help us as well, as to look at and give us a point person to work with. But we hope to bring in those trade missions here in April, and I would assume that knowing your wonderful mayor and your excellent director of planning and economic development, they will be also coming through Riverside to see what you have to offer here.
Absolutely.
There's an assortment of other things up here. We'll let you go through this at the recess. And if you have any questions, let us know. All this stuff stays here, so this will be Riverside. So we've got to get a shelf or something.
And on behalf of the Ishka Turkish Center, Bob and Mayor, thank you for your contributions to us, because what you really did was more than represent Riverside. You also represented our region, our state, and our country. And thank you for that.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank
We
you.
sure appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Okay, at this time it's 8 o'clock, and we'll take a 10-minute recess, so please be back at 8:10. We are now in recess.